informative, educational, objective, inclusive, comprehensive. This is Progress Report. Updates and conversations from the Government Information Service.
Good day and welcome to another episode of Progress Report. My name is Ivan Khanna. My lovely co-host, the star of the show, the one that tells me what to do, Miss Gleneva Hodge, always on my right side. That makes her the right one. Yeah, and today we have Bob the Billup. Excuse me. We have the Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Communications, Utilities, Housing and Tourism, the man of the hour, Mr. Hayden Hughes. The man that is known as the micromanager, the man that is known as Mr. Fix-It, the man that is known as so much that we're going to deep dive in today. Where do you want to start, Gleneva?
Let's start tourism.
Good morning and good morning to the viewers. I just want to say something quickly about the micromanager, right? I am not really a micromanager, but that comes because of physical projects.
Yes.
Physical projects. I've noticed in the past a lot of the physical projects, whether it be the Angular program projects or any of those projects, have fallen behind and out of budget. So any project that emanates from my ministry, I am there every day because I have a construction background as well. I'm there every day to make sure that it's lined up right, you know.
That's like that fun video when they were putting up the lights, and he came over and he asked the guy for the level, and he checked it himself.
Yeah, everything got to be lined up right. Everything got to come in on time on the budget, and that is something that I'm keen about.
And to be honest, that's appreciated because you said it, and you told me that even before. You're like, not on your watch will the taxpayers' dollars of Anguilla go to waste.
Yeah,
that was something.
I know persons have complained that I've been too involved, but when you go there and you fight hard to get a particular project and you get funded, whether it be taxpayers-based, local taxpayer-based funding, UK or European Union funding, you have to ensure that they have value for dollar. You have to ensure that those dollars are spent in accordance in which they were granted. So it's a person may say, yes, you've gotten it, but now you need to take your hands off. That's not my approach. My approach is to get it done. We've had 60 years of failed projects, 50 years of promises and no delivery. And the only way you can impress upon any donor is that you deliver and you ensure that you deliver on time and on the budget.
Right.
So you see, we were going to start with tourism, but we're already on this path of projects. Speaking of projects, you have a number of projects that have been completed, a number of projects that are underway, the airport being one of them. I know, thanks to Ivan and all of his updates, the the preliminary works, the enabling works at the Clayton J. Lloyd International Airport are almost completed. I've seen some renderings of the customs warehouse. What's next? What can we expect?
So the enabling works is completed on time and on the budget. So we're very happy with that. We're very happy with the Keller Construction and the local subcontractors that did the work, Superior Industrial Equipment, Julie Fleming and all of the other contractors, Tracy Busby and Pete's Construction. They did a tremendous job. It was started by Sunrise Construction, but he moved on to the Anna Villas project, which is going to be another tremendous project in the Shoal Bay area. But so the enabling works is to enable for the new terminal. One of the things that we're going to be concurrent with the new terminal is the warehouse. But I thought that it was important that we move that up so that we can transition the new warehouse while we extend the apron, so we can do all of that together. So we were successful in making that pitch, and now we have unveiled to the public the renderings. We are about 70% now schematic design. That includes the electrical, plumbing, and all of those things. It's going to be a beautiful building, as you can see. It's not just going to be a square box or a rectangular box, but it's going to have all the frills and bells and whistles inside of it in terms of space for rent for DHL and FedEx and whoever may want to have their agency out of that. It's going to be able to deal with the land side, the air side, security controls, customs. It's going to be a very good working space in terms of facilities. So we're very pleased with what V Architecture, Raoul Van der Poel and his team has done. And we are taking that to tender in around September, August of this year, with completion date no later than December of 2023.
So 3 months build out.
3 months, 4 months build out completed.
Okay.
It's going to be rapid fire.
I'm actually happy that you spoke about the space for rent, because I know in St. Thomas, like if you get in cargo down at the airport side, you don't go in through the terminal, you go, if you're off to the left when you're going, and then you can go there and pick up your packages and stuff. There's a bit more control and those type of things, and then it gives government some indemnity, so to speak, because right now I often ask, people order stuff and they just leave their packages there forever.
It won't happen with this, and we did a lot of consultation with the security services from the Anguilla ANC Ports Authority, and also with the Customs and Excise Department. So I think we all came together. Everybody's ideas was captured. You know, sometimes when you're doing a project such as this, somebody may get slighted a little bit. But in this particular project, nobody got slighted. Everybody's ideas were taken into consideration, and it's being manifested and will be manifested in the final design and the final product.
Okay. Just to quickly touch on what has been completed, because we spoke about that several times. What has been completed in the enabling works is a new parking lot, which is on the now approach of the Clayton J. Lloyd International Airport, a taxiway which connects the exit via the FBO and the exit from the airport to alleviate some of the traffic. People ask why the taxiway, because we often have that build up. You know, they have to backtrack to taxi in, even to taxi to go down by the FBO, which is
And also the cargo can drop
right.
off.
And then now the cargo is moving over there, so you have to go and get on that side. It's flow of traffic.
Ease.
It's ease. It's meeting your regulations and those type of things. So that's for people to understand. They might not have agreed with it, because like you say, you should do the runway first and all that type of things. But the premier gave us a nice little bump. He said on his last episode, when we were talking finance, he was like, you know, the airport master plan spoke about these things in phases.
Right.
But the plan now is terminal and airport expansion at the same time.
Yes. So the airport master plan spoke to 2047, I believe it was, there about 2047. But the premier was successful in making the argument that we should move things up. So everything is going to be moved up. And so we are going to the enabling works. One of the things is, it's a strange vision when we came to office, you know, from the time I was a kid, we've been talking about the Valley Main Road.
Right.
But one of the countries in which I really have a lot of respect for is the country of Singapore. And when Singapore went into independence, one of the focus for the new president, Lee Hang-woo, was to develop this city, right? To show the rest of the world that we are serious. It was a very poor country, you know, very skilled workforce, but very poor country. And so they started to develop the city town center, the roads and so forth, that network and what have you. So the idea when we came to office and the first meeting that I had with my staff was to develop the Valley Main Road. Of course, you know, there was a lot of skeptics. I think 99% of them were skeptical because they've heard it so many times. But after I convinced them that it could be done, we started on that trajectory. And the idea was develop the Valley Main Road, make the valley look different, make it look as if it's a city, as if it's a town, transition into the airport road. And once you transition to the airport road, a lot of people were asking the question, but why is it that you only did sidewalks on one side? My view was that we will get that airport done. So let's not do sidewalks on that side to then take the sidewalks up. So luckily, the work paid off, and thanks to the premier in particular, because a lot of people don't understand the type of work that he does to support the initiatives of the members of this administration. Every single member, even including the former Minister of Economic Development, Mr. Kyle Hodge, got full support from the Premier in whatever initiative we embark upon. And I have never gone to the Premier with any particular project. He said no. As a matter of fact, for the airport road, the funding wasn't available. And we met on Friday about it, and the Premier was traveling. And we met at the ministry and so forth, and he said to the gentleman in the room, including from the Ministry of Infrastructure and Tourism, we got to get this done. Premier is here. Premier said, listen, whatever it takes, it's done. We're going to allocate it from the Ministry of Finance, traveling, take it over. And that's the type of support that you need when you're trying to redevelop a country.
Yes.
And I'm very grateful to the Honorable Premier Dr. Webster for the support that he has lended, not only me and my ministry, but all of the ministries together. But yeah, so we were very successful in terms of the airport master plan. Now the enabling works, as you know, with the parking lot, the enabling works just enable the terminal. So the terminal construction is going to commence. We hope to break ground, not hope, we will break ground in December of this year. With construction starting maybe the 2nd or the 3rd of January 2020.
I don't trust you with that, Minister.
What's that?
Being honest with you, I don't trust you with construction starting after a ground break, because if my memory serves me correctly,
A ground break the same
you
day.
ground break and you start construction the same day. As a matter of fact, I gotta chat your business now. As a matter of fact, they had done start moving in things and doing things before we had groundbreaking for the enabling work. So don't tell me that.
And there's a reason. There's a reason for that. To be honest, I don't like to speak out of turn. I don't like to speak prematurely. The airport road, for example, I announced the commencement of the airport road the day before it started.
Yeah, I know.
Right. A lot of people were surprised.
I know you called me. It's like I need to know. It's okay.
Yeah. So, the thing is that I've learned in the past, people have said a lot of things and have not delivered.
Yeah.
And I may have a particular view in terms of moving forward within a particular project, but there may be other things outside of my control that delays it. So in order to avoid that, there are so many airline companies that we're talking about that I'm very positive will come into our space, but you will never hear me announcing it until after they announce.
Yeah.
In some instances, after they have landed. so
You're gonna just be up there. Yeah, we need pictures. Welcome.
Right. So
and then they have 3 flights a week in our
and that is only from a political standpoint, just to be safe,
Yeah.
because people make fun, say you're making false promises, and I would hope that by now, after 2.5 years in office, people have some faith that when we say we're going to do something, we have done it, right? But the enabling works is to move all of those cars off the existing parking lot onto this parking lot. As you know, they're outfitted with solar lights. It's a modern parking lot. Eventually it's going to be a paid parking lot. It's going to be a paid parking lot, including the Blowing Point Ferry Terminal parking lots, which is 2. But there's one that's already completed and paved. They're just waiting for the equipment to make it paved parking. And then we're going to transition and start the phase approach towards the development of the other parking lot, which is a public parking lot. One is an exclusive parking lot because it's right next to the terminal. You're going to pay a little premium for that, and the other one you're going to pay less in. But we'll have spaces for car rental agencies, taxi drivers, staffing, and so forth, right? Just to make sure that everybody's comfortable and taken care of. So once those vehicles are going to be moved off very soon, and you're gonna see some work being done. As a matter of fact, you already seen the studies in terms of the soil tests at the airport to make sure that we put down a facility that's going to last 100 years, right? Yeah. So we're really and truly building for the future. When we initially embark on this journey to build the terminal, it started off at a particular square footage. But one of the things that I was keen about, and Ivan would know this, is that the non-aeronautical activity, economic activity. So the initial design only had one concessionaire in it. I said we cannot have a model facility with one concessionaire in it. You need to create economic opportunities for Anguillians who want to be able to, again, enter into business, but also you need to create economic activity and revenue for the Anguilla ANC Ports Authority. Right. So I said we want 10. Find a way to have 10 there. So we spoke about it, and eventually, I think we end up with 10 or 11 concessionaires in the airport.
Yeah.
And these are pre-security clearance, post-security clearance.
2 is going to be pre-security clearance. 8 and 9 is going to be post-security clearance. So we're going to have a restaurant overlooking the. I'm not unveiling the plan right now, but I'm going to say what is going to be in the plan. We're going to have a restaurant overlooking the airport. That's going to be upstairs. Overlooking the airport is going to be beautiful. We're going to have a restaurant on the land side. So persons want to come and, wait on their families as they arrive and so forth. People just want to have lunch. They can do that at the airport. Then inside of the terminal, we're going to have a restaurant. We're going to have duty-free shopping. You're going to have liquor, jewelry, whatever it is, perfumeries, whatever business opportunities, souvenirs, whatever it is that those concessionaires will win through the RFP. through the procurement process to be able to deliver to the visitors that come to our shows, because it's a greater opportunity, even more so than Blowing Point, because Blowing Point is not a time frame in which you have to arrive for international travel. At the airport, it has to be 2 hours. So you're sitting around 2 hours, you know,
Yes.
you'll be able to indulge a little bit.
See how it all connects, because remember way back when we had the comptroller of IRD, we were talking about GST, and he talked about that. He connected. He said we have to do this now, considering what's going to happen in the future in terms of duty-free
Yes.
purchases at the airport and the systems and all these type of
Yes.
things.
Yes.
But it's going to be a tremendous facility. As Ivan, you've seen it. You know, I've seen it.
Impressive.
It's going to be one of the most beautiful. I know the Blowing Point Ferry Terminal is the most beautiful ferry terminal in the Caribbean by far, right?
Just
No,
like-
So,
Go ahead.
and one of the things that you have to appreciate, not only from Raoul Van der Poel and V Architecture in terms of the design, but you have to appreciate Mr. Gums, the contractor.
Leroy.
Leroy's Construction,
Yes.
Leroy
Leroy.
Gums, because he delivered that product just as it was in the renderings. It
Immaculately.
looks like the renderings.
Only one thing it didn't look like in the renderings though.
Is it
I'll be
grass
honest.
or the color?
The grass.
The grass. The grass haven't grown up as yet, but it will come. The grass.
I came in yesterday.
Persons are really upset that the grass.
The grass
is,
ain't
the
green.
grass
The grass
isn't
is
there,
green, yeah.
because in the renderings it was this nice green grass.
yeah.
And it's
The
like,
grass will
where's the
come.
grass?
You know, but you know Anguilla, how it is. We have paspalum, we have Bermuda seed, we have some salt resistant seeds and stuff
Yeah.
like
Yes.
that. But it will come. It will
Okay.
come, and they will have grass there and be able to take pictures and what have you. And people are already doing that. We wanted to also celebrate some of our heroes in sports, and that was the initiative that I embarked upon. But one of the things that I want to move on towards too is to just celebrate our seafaring persons. You know, in my speech at Blowing Point Ferry
Yeah, you
Terminal, I
did.
spoke to them, and I want to have nice pictures of them just to give a historical. Just when people come to the terminal, they can indulge a little bit in our history as they traverse the terminal.
And this is where the ideas just keep popping. I think it's your fault in that, because every time you sit here next to me, they just start popping in this lead to walk. But maybe we have 3 slips. Maybe you can name a slip after somebody.
Yes,
instead of Alpha Bravo
we've also discussed that, and that is something that we're going to do. We're working on, you know, we're looking to rename the Coronation Park. As you know, the Honorable Deanne Kentish Rogers is of the strong view that the park should be named after John John Thomas, because of the work that he did. So that is the work in progress is happening with that. I don't want to speak out of turn, but she can speak to that at some
There's a
point.
lot of things there.
But there's a lot of things that
I know they
are-
want
So
to rename the Carnival Village
just
soon.
note
Right.
note that down for
For her
when
when she comes.
Right.
she's here.
So as you speak to the Carnival Village, we are designing a brand new Carnival Village. I have had the privilege, as it's being designed in the Ministry of Infrastructure, to see the design, to impart my views, impart my ideas, and we have taken the ideas of the Department of Youth and Culture as well to incorporate it. We have visited the amphitheater down at Aurora. We have looked at their design and look at their costs and to see how we can develop some facility that is unparalleled in the Caribbean.
Yeah,
So
I
we're
know,
trying to
we even spoke to what UVI has as their amphitheater.
Yeah, we are trying to really, in one term, really transform this country. So in terms of the airport terminal, we hope to have that operational by May of 2025.
Not hope, I think it will
Yeah,
happen.
yeah, I believe so. And then immediately we go into airport extension.
Yeah.
Immediately we go into airport extension. So we have been, as you know, all of this work is being done in the background, and you've got to give it up for Kendall Richardson, because Kendall Richardson is the backbone of all of this. You know, he's the one who puts in the hours. You can get him at any time of the night or day, and you know, up to after 12 o'clock last night, I was messaging him about different things, and he always responds. You know, but there's a lot of work that is going on with that. As you know, we are soon going to the procurement on the new Vivian van der Poel Primary School in Island Harbor, with the computer lab and the additional classrooms and what have you. The designs were already completed
saw
by
those this week.
Kentura Keynes in the Ministry of Infrastructure. She already sent them to the building board and what have you, so we're moving forward with that as well. So there's a lot that is going on. As you know, there was a real bad decision as it relates to relocating the Albina Lake Hodge Comprehensive School.
Yeah,
and we're
just
doing
came from there.
we're doing,
We've seen it.
Yeah, we're doing all we can to remedy that bad decision. It comes at a tremendous cost to the taxpayers of Anguilla. But, you know, whatever you think about GST, without GST, we would not be able to finish the Albina Lake Hodge Comprehensive School, and it would sit there as a dud, you know, and that would have been an unfortunate waste of resources. And it was really and truly a bad decision. It's going to take many years before that decision is remedied, because you want to be able to consolidate all of the school and facilities in one geographical location, so you don't have to bus people back and forth. Teachers don't have to commute back and forth. So that was the error in the decision. But I want to say this, that the talented and brilliant staff in the Ministry of Infrastructure, when they were doing the evaluation, they recommended that the Albina Lake Arch Comprehensive School post-UMA be rebuilt in the existing location because of a number of factors. It was ignored by the former Minister of Education and her team, and the decision was made to relocate it to a site that had no auxiliary services. And so it's a decision that was made. So you have to fix it. It's similar to the decision to build a cargo facility in Sandaground. That was a bad decision, but we have to work with that bad decision because that facility is going to be there for another 50 years. So how do you ensure that the land side, so now what we're doing is trying to get a land side development, to finance the land side of it, because without that the security officers sit in the hot sun to deal with these boats. It's just a bad working situation for the persons at the personnel at ASPA. And these are the bad decisions that have been made in the just recent past that we have to remedy.
You know, listening to the minister, and he has covered so much. It's like the one thing that I say to Ivan when we have the minister on as a guest, it's very little prodding. We get all of it out there. But listening to the minister and looking at the minister when he speaks of the flair and the aesthetics of these buildings, and he mentioned V architecture and he mentioned Leeward construction, but I can't help but feel that we get a little bit of the minister's flair.
Yeah, he did tell you.
I know you were admiring his jacket. Motivation, Ivan, motivation. When he came in.
One of the things that I don't think is ever completed is a building without landscaping. You know this, Ivan. Whether it's personal or whatever it is, nothing is completed without landscaping. And so that is why we wanted to landscape the Valley Main Road. That is why we wanted to landscape the Bloomfield Ferry Terminal. And thanks to Kevin Carter and Aurora for jumping in. We had reached out to another hotel that I won't name, and they declined. Up to now, they have not contributed anything socially, and I'm putting you on notice. But and at some point, if you don't step up to the plate, you'll be named and shamed. But and so Aurora jumped in again. We can't keep on tapping into the same well. Other people have to step up. You know. And we, as you know, just yesterday we went to Executive Council to approve the new marina for Altima. They're going through the EIA process, and we hope to see that marina commence in construction in 2023. So for the first time, we're
I want you to stop right there. I didn't want to jump ahead and get into that, and he can just slide it in.
Just right there.
He can just slide it in, as you know.
This is why I always believe that tourism and infrastructure go hand in hand.
Of course, and you said that from the jump, and I was appreciative, like, with how the portfolios were structured, and even prior to the crossing the exit of the former minister, I like the fact that the PALSEC straddled between your ministry in terms of tourism, and still had some sidebar arms, so to speak, for infrastructure, and then from an economic development standpoint, because they all tied in. And then I was even happier now that finance, health, and economic development fall under the premier. When you look at it, like you said, there are certain things that goes married, they go hand in hand. So, saying that to say, things that are happening are not just happening. And I am bombarded with information. I walked into Albert Lake this morning, and my good friend Susie, she hugged me up. She said, Ivan, the man that gave me all information, you see, she's basically saying about it, I don't know.
Don't
want to know. She's like, everything you want to know, it's out there. And I could only credit that to, yes, the ministers and their ministries. As you know, there's still a ton of stuff that I have that we just can't find a slot to fit it. Yeah. But then I got somebody here sitting on my right hand. I think it's just about this show. But she had comment, so tell me about this. Tell me about that. No, but you need to talk about this because I'm hearing that. And it's literally to keep people informed. And I get that from even good friend Roger too. He was like, yo, yeah, people are now understanding, because I had an ambitious goal when I accepted the role. I wanted Anguilla to be a reading public. I told the premier that.
Yes.
Yeah, that ain't gonna work. They just need to know. So we've evolved, but they know, and you're controlling the narrative because you just still have to deal with the Monday melee.
Yeah, but the thing is about this administration
Leave
is
it
this, right? The thing is about this administration is that, and I've heard the leader of the opposition say that we didn't have a manifesto. We do have a manifesto.
Yes.
It's online. We didn't print something because we didn't have the
I
financial
still have the
wherewithal.
points. I can go to my email. and pull them
We're
up.
still paying for our campaign, right? So that just put it out there. And I'm sure the front is still paying for their campaign too. But be that as it may, there are promises that we made that we would deliver. And
Yes.
I can say, you can take them off. You can take
That's
them
a
off.
fact.
You can take them off. Yes, person may say, but you promised that you won't implement GST. But the truth of the matter is it was unavoidable. We didn't know that when we came to office. And we fought, right? We fought, we lost the battle.
Tears.
And thank God we lost the battle. If you understand what I'm saying. Because if we didn't lose that battle, we don't know where Anguilla would have been today. One thing we do know is that we wouldn't be here. Because the government of the day, the elected representatives would not be in office
No.
today if GST did not pass.
No.
We would have had a suspension, if not
Yeah.
in whole, but
Order in
part of our
council.
constitution.
Yeah.
In order to move forward, because Anguilla would not have been able to pay its debt,
Yeah.
its debts, and these debts are debts that was accrued. I want to say over multiple administrations, but more so under the former administration with the cost of the banking resolution. That's done, right? At the end of the day, we got to take credit. If you want to give us the blame, we will take credit for GST.
Only because it's not the same GST.
It's not the same GST, right? But we passed GST, and I'm proud to say that I voted yes for GST.
Me too.
And
I
I'm
didn't
proud
have a
that
vote, but I'm
of
proud.
what GST is going to do in terms of
Going to do?
is doing
Oh.
for Anguilla's services. For example, the premier during the election campaign promised to deliver healthcare, free healthcare through the hospital, through the public services for persons over the age of 70. When we came to office, one of the first things that he brought to Executive Council was
Yeah.
that. And he was told, and rightfully so, that you need to have an actuarial study to determine the cost of it. Now, as we know, these things don't happen overnight. But he was pushing, Courtney Morton was pushing every single day.
Every day.
And the critics on radio were saying, oh, you make this promise, but you don't deliver it. Because for some reason, we have to find a way to educate our public. And I tried to do that when I had my radio talk show. About the
government
way
works.
government works, the way the budgetary cycle
This
works,
is-
the
this one here.
allocations, right?
This is this
And-
one here
and
in
so
my
forth.
ear all the time.
You know, like for example, you'll have the cricketers who want to travel and they want money now. But there's a particular allocation for sports.
Yeah.
And if it is that allocation goes to just the cricketers or just the cyclists,
Yeah.
then there's nothing left for anybody else, right? And then you can't do an allocation because then you'll have to go to Parliament to have a supplementary. In order to do
Which
so,
we did
you have to
recently.
get permission from the Secretary of State in England. So there's a process, and people need to understand the process. People don't care to understand the process. There are persons who are politicking and campaigning, right? Like my good friend Leon Lake and Patrick Monborough, for example. I'll call your names. And they say things like, oh, we're going to get rid of duties, we're going to do this, we're going to do that.
How?
Without understanding how government works, how budgetary cycles work, and all of these things. And it's very disappointing because even on social media, I see the comments of persons who, are fairly intelligent, who are making certain pronouncements without, and they should know better, right? They should know better, and I don't want to say that they don't know. But the layman on the street really and truly don't know. And we have to find a way to educate people as to how government processes work.
You're gonna jump in right
I
there.
saw.
I have
You
to
don't let her jump in right here. She gotta say.
you know
I know exactly what she gonna say.
But you know it's itching me because
Yeah.
for a long time I take the opinion you don't know what you don't know. And I think persons in position who do know have a responsibility to educate, not miseducate. And listening to you, I know that there's some of that happens where there are persons who are in the know who willfully miseducate. But if that is the only voice that you're hearing, the voice of miseducation, then you can't fault the persons who don't know.
Right.
And so, progress report, and I say this all the time. People ask me, why do you do progress report? I said this on our 1-year anniversary when we did this, is that I was grateful for the opportunity because for me, educating the public and the processes, Ivan knows he owes me an episode.
Yeah.
He knows he owes me an episode on a budgetary review
Yeah.
with the Ministry of Finance.
Yeah. They're
and looking
down for it.
at so that the average person, the person who has never worked a day in government, the person who don't know how these processes work and exactly how government monies are allocated and what that means, so that they can understand. Because I think the more we have an educated public, the more we have an empowered public. And that means that we have a public that can reason and understand and can decipher what is nonsense,
Yeah, from not
what is willful miseducation, from what is factual.
There's also the medium-term and economic fiscal plan. Ivan, you spend a lot of time around the ministry. You know that this is a 3-year plan, right?
Yeah.
And every year, right now we're getting into it.
Yeah.
We all
We got started already,
We
yeah.
already started to look at the next 3 years, right? And every year we look at the next 3 years. So we start these things early, the medium-term economic fiscal plan, and we allocate during that time so that when December comes around, you go to the House with these allocations, and if it's not in there, it's not in there. Now,
Outside of that, a lot of persons don't understand, and I had to explain it. Even on the street, the premier touched on it. Like when you even went to the conversation about the casino, it's in the
medium-term economic
because
fiscal
you
plan.
have to look at the debt that you have to pay. What money government can only make so much money, but government has expenses that are not they're not fixed because they grow.
Yeah.
Like you pay electricity bill like everybody else.
When we came in office, of course, we inherited a medium-term economic fiscal plan, right? And that medium-term economic fiscal plan that we inherited, it spoke to selling of Anglec, to the sale of Anglec. Now the Premier fought hard to ensure that Anglec is retained by the people of
Yeah, I
Angola.
remember that.
So these are things, but then when you do that, then you have to find a way to fill that gap.
Yep.
So these are things that you have to understand. And another thing, there's a lot of things that we have done as an administration, right? And we are still 2.5 years roughly away from general election. And a lot of people would say, well, how did you do this so fast? It had to be something that was left there before. And I can tell you, this is a matter of fact. When we came to office, there was no design, no drawing, no surveying, nothing to do with Valamine Road.
Nothing.
None. We were able to reallocate funds to contract a surveyor, Richards Architecture. And that started on December 5th of 2020.
I remember the morning we were out on the road.
In every single day, I was on them about the design and what have you. We were working on that design. And I was telling them, we got to preserve the trees, right? Because I'm about trees. We got to figure out a way. We couldn't. And then when we couldn't, and I announced that we have to remove the trees, all hell break loose. And Kenneth Harrigan reminded me of why he couldn't do it. You know, then they started to remind me of why they couldn't do it, because they were afraid of the noise relating to the trees. I said, I am not here forever. I am not going to be here forever. No politician is. I'm a student of politics. I've seen whether it be Hubert Hughes, Ronald Webster, Gaddafi, Idi Amin, or Ronald Reagan. They've had their time and they transition on one way or the next. And I'm only here for a short time. It may be 5 years, it may be 10 years, we don't know. So in that
It may
short,
be 15.
in that short time that I'm there, I'm going to do as much as I can. And I've learned from personal experience that people make noise based on who is doing what. Right?
I got touched on.
And I'm glad and grateful for the experience of having been in government before. And I'm grateful to the people of Road South for not electing me in 2015, because I was able to sit back and watch and observe. And then I'm more grateful for the people of Road South for electing me, and the people of Angola for electing this administration, putting us in place. So the experience that I've had, observing, watching, and having that personal experience helped shape the way I move forward with these particular projects. Right? So I've read Michelle Rogers Webster say that I must screenshot this, that when she comes to office in 2025, she's going to outwork all of us. I can tell her, and I can tell anybody, none of them can outwork me, and none of them can outwork this administration. They cannot outwork me. They can't. I'm saying it without a shadow of a doubt, they cannot.
But-
they're not willing to not take vacations. I was forced into a vacation
Yes.
recently with my daughter. And
That wasn't a vacation, let's be honest.
It wasn't a
You
vacation.
went on the road in the afternoon, but you was walking.
Yes,
you were
yes,
still in
yes.
the chat, you're
Right.
still...
But
Okay,
it
don't
it
play
still,
that.
it still was a getaway from
business.
executive council and
Okay,
all
good.
those in parliament, what have you. But none of them can outwork me. None of them can do what I do, right? And you always measure somebody. not only about when they're in political office, but when they are in private office and what they have been able to do and what they've been able to do in the can't outwork. I get about 4 o'clock, whether I'm in government or not.
Minister,
And at 4
you
o'clock, they see
message me at
speaking
4
about-
o'clock.
Right? So I'm just saying that to say this, right? Not only you have to put in the hard work, but you have to have a supportive team.
And vision.
Right? You have to have a team and you have to have a leader who supports the vision, who supports you, who and moving in the same direction. We've had debates, whether it's the Premier, myself, Minister Diane Kentish Rogers, Minister Gums Marie. We've all had robust debates, right? But what? At the end of it, we say, okay, let's move forward with this. The GST debate amongst us as a government was more robust than the GST debate in the House.
I know.
Think about that. The GST debate amongst the cabinet
Yeah.
of the Honorable Dr. Webster was more robust and harder than the debate
Head
in the
on,
House. Head
tears,
on,
sweat.
coming out of Executive Council,
Yeah.
the Ford,
Yeah.
British government, you
Yeah.
name it.
It
People,
was
people
a-
never see that background story,
No.
right? But it happened, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, we should be thankful for the leadership of Dr. Webster. I hear people saying, oh, he's weak. No weak leader could do what he did.
No.
You know what I mean?
He's
And he
inclusive.
was able to bring us along. And
He's
before-
inclusive and he's a great listener. When you sit with him, he does not discredit
I want to
anything that
put
you
I
say.
want to put somebody under the bus right now, and that is a guy KL Khanna. Before the general election, KL Khanna called me and said, "Hughes, stop saying you won't pass GST." I said, "Why?" He said, "Because no matter who comes in government,
Yeah.
you can't avoid it."
He told me that.
And I said, "I don't believe that." He said, "If you get elected tomorrow, wait, you'll see."
And he was the farmer comptroller of Miami.
And he was the farmer controller of our area. When we came in office, we realized there was no getting around it.
Yeah.
The legislation was there. It was bad.
Yeah.
So we fought about it, kick it out of the executive council. We went back, tore it up, went to the public, took the ideas of the public, even Kyle Hatch had a number of ideas and voted against those same ideas that he brought forward. The Honorable Kyle Hatch voted against ideas and things that he supported and through executive council. And when it got to parliament, he voted against them. For example, let me give you some examples. The exemptions, some of the exemptions, they were his ideas, and he voted against them in a division vote.
Okay. Let's not.
I want to go there, but I don't want to go there because
The
I'm looking,
Honorable-
I'm looking at the
The
clock.
Honorable Kyle Hodge was the biggest proponent of gaming. We met with different teams and so forth. He was pushing it. He was on the front page even after he resigned from office. A few persons went on radio, in particular a very close relative. And the next thing you know, he changed his mind. And people say, but he didn't. Why is it that you always going after Mr. Hodge? It isn't that. It is that. Yes, people are free to change their minds.
Yeah.
But people can't be just change your mind from 1 minute to the next all of the time and you can't progress on anything. And to me that is a problem in leadership. You have to be able to make a decision.
Stand by it too.
and stand by the decision. Will I gamble? Never. Right? Will I use a jet ski? Never. But I am going to a meeting this afternoon so that we can take Jet Ski Prohibition Act to the Executive Council next week.
And on that note, I am so glad that the minister has now brought us a little bit into tourism because I know when we started, I knew that we were not going to have enough time. And Ivan, we may have to do a part 2 because we never have enough time with the minister to get into everything. And we've kind of transitioned a little bit into tourism. When you speak about casinos, you speak about jet skis. How do these align? And I have always said my position on casinos is simple. It neither here nor there to me. I ain't going.
Yeah.
Quite.
You can't
And
go
that's-
anywhere.
and
You
that's-
don't have a $250,000 membership fee to pay.
That's
I don't
right.
think so. Unless you do.
You better believe I don't. But that's not to say that I don't go into places of entertainment when I go overseas. But it really isn't a thing of gambling for me. I'm really not into that. The other day, my friends and I, we took a day trip to one of our sister islands. And the first thing my friends did was jump on a jet ski. And I thought about it. And I thought about the money that we spent to go to another island to jet
Enjoy
ski.
these things. But I don't know why we spend, what the tourists spend to do it.
So that's what I was getting.
And the
that's what I was
yachts that
getting.
can't utilize jet skis and and these folks,
That's what I'm getting at in terms of we are clearly losing.
Market share.
The thing
So
is
other
this, right?
things.
One of the things that I understand and live through, and your dad lived through it too, is the fact that when we embark,
I don't want to cut you off. You're doing the Hubert thing.
what's that?
You're behaving like your father right now. Persons listening can't see your mannerisms, how you lap your legs, how you're leaning forward. It really giving me a vibe. So I don't know if you realize, but you're turning into your father, Minister.
I don't know.
No, it really hit me just now. A double take. You see that? I want you to fix it for me. I don't know how to respond. Okay, thanks. You're turning into your father, Minister.
So,
Thank you.
No, so I was saying, you have to have the appreciation of our journey of tourism. Persons who are opposed to golf courses come to Anguilla. Tourists are opposed to street lights because it would interfere with the view of the stars.
What?
Yes, I'm telling you.
Paved roads.
Yeah, paved roads because it takes away the character of the island.
Stop playing.
Yeah. So what? And even as it relates to things like jet skis, you've heard people say on certain blogs that, we won't come to Anguilla if you have jet skis. Now, the thing is this, right? Anguilla's a country. Anguilla have residents who live here all the time. It's not your plaything.
No
right?
kidding.
And it's a country. and one of the things that we seek to do is create economic opportunities for our people. If jet skis are in Junksole Bay, how does it impact your experience at Four Seasons, or Belmont, or Zemi Beach? You understand what I'm saying? So you want to be able to create economic opportunities for the people of Anguilla, young people to get involved in business and so forth, to provide these services so that those persons who want to indulge in these activities and these experiences don't have to leave another island like they did where we didn't have a golf course and persons go after, we'll have Titan here,
Right,
fly people to Nevis to play golf and to send people over to Maho to play golf because certain people saying, we're not coming to Anguilla if you have a golf course. Aurora has one of the most beautiful golf courses I've ever seen.
Number two.
But if you don't want to play golf, and if you don't want to see the golf course, you don't have to see it. Now, Mr. Schultz is installing a lazy river and a water park and so forth. I've seen people say, that's not Anguillan, we don't want that in Anguilla. I've seen it, right? But if you don't want to see it, and you don't want to
So
experience it,
you have to go there to see it.
you have to go there. So the same thing applies for jet skis, or the same thing applies for members only gaming facility, or two, or whatever it is, 2 or 3 or whatever it is. If they are in Savannah Bay, or if they're in bungalows, if
Sorry?
you bungalows.
Where's bungalows?
That's Anavar's village, Anavar Richardson's village.
Oh.
So if you
Random.
you don't have to indulge if you don't want to. Now I go to Vegas every other year, with the exception to last year. I've been to Vegas, right, for fitness conferences. When you go to Vegas, once you get off the plane, you enter that airport, slot machines are in there. When you get to in a hotel in Vegas, the entire first floor is nothing but casino. I've never put a quarter in a slot machine. I've never indulged. I've seen people do it, but I've never indulged. Because I don't care for it and it's not my thing and I won't do it. If it's all over my face, I won't do it. I see people lined up at Madroka, I won't do it. That's not my thing. Similarly, I support 100% decriminalization of marijuana, but I'm not going to smoke. You know what I mean? So not because I support that. I support it for reasons to ease up the judiciary, and I hate to see a young man who get caught with a roach, what we call a roach, having a police record and can't have a job and so forth. So I support decriminalization. I wish we could do it faster, and the minister have been pushing, but there's so many roadblocks, not being built in Anguilla, but being built outside of Anguilla. You catch what I'm saying? So, but we are still pushing. Now we have finally got to the point where we submitted for persons to be part of the advisory council and what have you.
That ends today.
Right. So to move forward with it. So not because I support moving forward with these initiatives and decriminalizing these things means that I will indulge. That's a personal choice. Now, even as it relates to gaming, you have to exercise discretion. And for those persons who said it's going to change Anguilla, everything changes Anguilla. Nothing is constant.
Nothing
And
changes.
one of the
nothing
things that
changes.
we have to also appreciate, and I've spoken to men of the cloth on this, is that all of the things that you say you don't want, we already have. But it's just in the shadows, we're not receiving the taxes and what have you. I've heard a man of the cloth on a Saturday morning program speak about, people who spend their last dollar gambling and so forth. All right, so those people spend their last dollar gambling. But if you have a membership only, and people have to pay $100,000 a year to be a member, that person in Anguilla is not spending their last dollar. in
Okay,
it.
just disclaimer. That's not in the policy.
Right.
That $100,000 there's an arbitrary figure.
It's an arbitrary figure.
Yeah, because we have to tell
Right,
people
right.
they're gonna take them some boys and gonna say
Yes,
yes,
it's an arbitrary figure. That's absolutely true. It's an arbitrary. But if that's the case, then it don't impact you one way or the next. How do you? And I've spoken to a travel agent recently. She said, "Oh, I've been to this country, and the casino closed after 5 or 6 years." I said, "Yes, okay, I understand that." And you got to look at places like Monaco. I said, "But Monaco have gaming." Right? And then she went on, and I said, you know what? We've had Sonesta closed. We've had Casablanca closed. We have Cocoloba Valto closed. We've had Cinema Reef closed. And I went down Mirroring. I went down the list of all the closed properties, right? So when you embark on a business proposal, yes, it is that it's a risk that you're taking. But even in the instance of Cocoloba Valto being closed, it was closed for a number of years. What do we have in this place today? We have Four Seasons. Right? In the case of Cocoloba and Sonesta, what do we have in this place today? We have the Reef, we have Aurora. So, yes, you will have failures, but you have to also measure your successes.
But are they considered failures though? Because if you're being honest, a number, and this is just my insight, a number of these properties would come into a business decision, and when it's no longer profitable to the point,
Yeah.
then they are free to say, okay, I can't invest no more here.
It's similarly-
It's not necessarily a failure.
I mean, it's
Similarly
a
with
business.
the aviation business, right? When we were successful in attracting American Airlines to Anguilla, you heard a lot of people saying, "Oh, from before this was in tow." That's not true. There's no evidence, and they challenged Ms. Shelley Rogers Webster and Ms. Corey Richardson Hodge and all the members of the opposition, including Cardigan Connor, to provide one shred of evidence, a conversation, an email, a telephone call that spoke to anybody from American Airlines, from JetBlue, Pan Am, or Continental. Some of them already out of business long time. I even Concorde, right? Because it doesn't exist.
Yeah, I know.
So the thing is that we are still talking to airline. I have personal WhatsApp for presidents of these airline companies. We're having these conversations, and these conversations also help guide the way we're moving forward. Personally, I've talked about the Anguilla St. Thomas route. Why isn't that happening? When I first came in office, I picked up the phone and I called Andrew Bonner from Cape. I said, "Listen, we got to get cracking again." He said, "Okay, we're going to do this." So we did Cape from St. Thomas to Anguilla. Now, I didn't think that the model was the best model because we were doing 7 flights, 14 flights a week. My idea was to do 3 flights a week, right? A Friday, a Sunday, and maybe a Wednesday. However you fix it, but just make sure that people can go for a weekend, come for a weekend, and what have you. They thought it was that. The flights were flying virtually empty. No business is going to continue to lose money in any destination. So eventually they pulled thing. I reached out to him recently and he said, "Listen, we are willing to look at your idea, but we need to have pilots because pilots now are an issue." So that is something that Kendall is looking at. But at the same time, there are local aviation companies such as Anguilla Air Services, who I think is the best position to do that. Yeah, the others I don't seem to have any interest, but Anguilla Air Services is in the best position to do that. But apart from that, we are speaking to 2 airlines. One of them, we have discontinued discussions because they say they wanted financial support for the route, so we've discontinued discussions with that one. But another one is looking seriously at it. And if anything, it may start. I don't want to speak about when it will start, but we haven't those discussions. So we continue to have discussions with airlines. We have had discussions with airlines and Roots International recently, and we're going to have visits out of Canada. And it's a possibility that even before 2025, we may have a flight out of Toronto. That's a strong possibility. I don't want to speak out of turn yet. But so these conversations continue to to be had. But at the end of the day, it comes down to financial feasibility. American Airlines is only doing the number of flights in Anguilla because it's profitable to do so. But if that demand wanes, they cut back flights. And this is why when I said, when we had a discussion, they were doing the initial flights and so forth, I said, we would like to do 4 flights. And then they said, we want to do 7. I was very worried, to be honest, in the discussions about 7. Because I was trying to say, I prefer to have 4 that is filled and profitable than 7 that is had filled, losing money. Next thing they know, they pull up stake. But it worked.
But here's where it worked, Minister. And I think you touched on this earlier, but it needs to be reiterated again. It didn't just work in silo. American Airlines would have done their research. American Airlines know the numbers going to St. Martin and everywhere else.
Let me give you a caveat. American Airlines could not come to Anguilla if we didn't resurface the airport. Because the pavement classification number would have been too low.
Yes.
So that's one.
I was getting to that.
Secondly, American Airlines did a test flight into Dominica. Kendall said, hey, look what's going on. So we say, hey, if you're doing a test flight into Dominica, we have more tourists in Dominica. Look at our numbers.
But this is what I'm getting to. This is what I'm getting to. Like it doesn't happen in a silo. After COVID, during COVID, the world looked at Anguilla model to jumpstart the economy. These words, we have to develop an appetite for risk.
That's what Dr. Webster.
That was Dr. Webster.
Webster.
That sent shockwaves throughout the Caribbean, reaching as far as the continental U.S. because you hear it. Then you look at everything Anguilla is talking about where it's going in is tourism. Then you look at the development because
we have the second fastest growth rate in the Caribbean right now in terms of tourism. Think about that.
Think about that. But not to smile it down a little bit, Gleneva. But think about everything else. We talk about all this stuff, but a major thing has happened in Anguilla over the last couple of years. I think you alluded to it, and we have to consider that in other industry as well, is the investor confidence has been restored.
Yes.
And these people talk to people.
Yes. Investor confidence in Anguilla is at an all-time high. Sorry. Investor confidence in Anguilla is at an all-time high. Ivan, right now we don't have enough people to work construction. We don't have enough cement. We don't have enough blocks. We don't have enough of these things, right? And guess what? We have some major projects that are about to commence.
Yes.
It's, to my mind, it may be exciting, but it's also scary.
It's scary.
It's scary.
And we talked about this.
I'm looking at this part because
it's 9 minutes we have left.
I'm gonna say because I saw just recently during Labor Week, the Department of Statistics, they put out I think it was Department of Statistics, or maybe it was the Labor Department, that put out some information.
I have those statistics.
Right, that put out some information on how many work permits were issued, where those work permits were issued, and it was issued. The majority of them were in the labor construction fields. If I'm hearing that currently, we do not have the workforce.
We don't
have enough welders. We don't have enough tilers. We don't have no elevator technicians. And now there's a need for elevator technicians. We don't have enough upholstery personnel. There's so many needs that we have in the technical trades, in particular, that can be divested to AI, right? So I would admonish any young person who is in 5th or 6th farm, really look at technical trades, because if you have those technical trades, you will eat forever.
Yeah. Go ahead, Glenn. I can say something after, because we got 7 minutes.
So, I agree with the minister in terms of ensuring that our young people are going into those areas. But let's also be realistic. We do not have the number of persons to be able to.
No.
Yeah.
If at the end of the day, we have 100 students who are graduating from high school every year, 200 max, and you take a small percentage of those, maybe 25, maybe, if so much, who go into those areas. The reality is even if they leave school tomorrow with that, it's also a skill building.
Yes, a skill building.
There's a certain level of expertise that only comes with time and experience. And so I am all for apprenticeship programs where, even if it's not apprenticeship, where they are paid, where they can build on their skills in the real world. But thinking back to the conversation that we had with Minister Kenneth Hodge, how are we going to ensure, if we have these projects coming on board, and the question for me is always, are we looking at everything holistically? In that we have all of these projects which is going to require an influx of persons.
Yeah. And that's the thing, I mean,
And growing our
population.
population, and how do we do so
with the right balance.
with that is it, because
the
you want to
demographics and
ensure
everything.
we don't want a repeat of what we saw happening
In 2007,
Yes.
when you had the
yes
indentured servants, the Indians,
Minister, oh, Jesus.
and man camps eating cabbage all day and tuberculosis. That's the record of the Angola United Front.
Minister.
But at the end of the day, you know, one of the things that we have to consider going
Minister.
forward,
Minister.
Ivan, is this.
Minister, you can't just say those things like that.
It's fact.
I understand it's
Yeah.
fact, but Minister,
I think just being mindful
Just being mindful.
of
We're
words we
we're
use.
not going to lose that.
I-
We're not gonna lose
I-
that.
No, I'm just saying.
yes.
I have a very interesting laugh, and I know my colleague too. And we behave the way that came out. I tell you, behaving like your father, Minister.
No, I'm just saying. It's just-
Okay, so the minister is saying kind of what I was alluding to.
Uh-huh.
In that, how do we ensure that there is that respectable balance, so that when we are bringing in people, we are treating those persons with dignity, that they can live, that they can contribute meaningfully
And one of the
to
things
our
too,
economy.
one of the things you have to factor in is that during those dark days of the United Front administration, those persons were being paid $250 a month in these things.
No, impossible.
The Minister of Labour is going to deliver on the 60-year-old promise of a minimum wage in Angola. So that's not going to happen going forward, right? And then that minimum wage is going to be delivered in this term. Not,
Yeah,
let's
probably.
wait until next term. It's going to be delivered this term. The Blue Belt program have been delivered by the Minister of Sustainability. Deanne Kentish Rogers make waves across the Caribbean and the world with a hair policy that have now been adopted by Barbados just recently and Jamaica last year, right? Inciting who? The Honorable Minister of Education in Angola, Ms. Deanne Kentish Rogers. Dr. Ellis Lorenzo Webster created shockwaves when he said we must increase our appetite for risk, and how everybody took it up. But not only that, the digital nomad program that Minister Gums Marie came up with was a tremendous success. So in terms of innovation, but I like to say to people all the time, right, in terms of my foray in office, is that I have not brought any new ideas to the table. None. Nothing that I have done since I've been in office is a new idea. It has been promises that have been made from the
50
time
years.
Noah was building the ark. It has been promises that have been made by politicians of old, whether it be James Ronald Webster, Victor Banks, Osborne Fleming, Hubert Benjamin Hughes. They have been promises of old, right, that are now being manifested, because the goal of this administration is to deliver on that promise of building a new Angola. Because when we went into the revolution in 1967, they said, we want to build a new Angola. So we are delivering on the promise that was made at that time. When last you hear complain about water? But water,
Minister, we got 2 minutes here going to touch. Minister, we got 2 minutes here going to touch an issue like that.
but water is not perfect. But we have budgeted to start to rebuild the network. And over the next 3 years, we have allocated funds to start to rebuild the network, because over 80% of our water is being leaked into the ground. So we are starting to work to even rebuild the network. And now we are going to start the whole process of transitioning our energy sector. So there's so much that is happening. But if you think about this, Ivan, I know you have a short time, but if you think about this for a minute, right? With the airport development has already begun, and the Altima Marina being developed, and quite possibly a major hotel project in the Rendezvous area. And I'm not going to even talk about Savannah Side Bay yet. I'll leave that for the
all
premiere.
those, yeah.
Think about where we are going to be as a country in the next few years. People in the diaspora, because it's the goal of this government, as
Bring
many
them home.
Anguillians in the diaspora, whether in the US, UK, Dominican Republic, wherever they are, we want them to come back home. And we want them to enjoy the fruits of their forebears. Because the reality is that we as a people, we are in a strategically advantageous position. I'm always disappointed. Not disappointed, but when Anguillians leave to go to another country with no resources, no land or anything, while persons from other countries, whether it be St. Vincent, Dominica, Dominican Republic, England, the United States, come to Anguilla with no land and build themselves up in Anguilla. But we leave and looking for greener grasses just because the rain had not fallen in Anguilla for a little bit. You understand what I'm saying?
I ain't touching on so much
So-
things. No, we got 1 minute.
I'm sorry. But the future of Anguilla looks bright, and it's not by chance. It's by deliberate work of this administration. It's not by chance. I'm telling you. And you'll be surprised, and I haven't even touched on the new first of its kind, covered indoor facility, sports facility in Blowing Point.
Minister, we got the plans right here on my phone. We ain't touch on none of this stuff.
Right, as you know,
I
Ivan,
always want a 2-hour episode.
as you know,
Right.
that's going to be started perhaps in this month, May of this month, finally. The drawings have been done thanks to Claudius and the team, who have completed everything, and we're ready to kick off on that project. So there's so much happening. It's such an exciting time in Anguilla, to be honest with you, Ivan. And I think that people in Anguilla should be inspired, should be excited. And for those young people who had to dole out money all the time to take care of their grandparents or their parents and so forth, they don't have to do it. You know?
There's a lot happening, Minister.
You don't have
There's
to
so
do it
much to unpack. But I'm going to say this because we have to be good to our radio
Yes.
partners. We're going to have to cut this one short. You give us a little Easter egg there. I think people will rewind our call to find out what's going on. I'll post it on Facebook. But you touched on a major thing there. The Altima Marina mobilizing.
Mobilizing.
Let's leave it as that.
Mobilizing.
I think we're going to have the minister back.
We're gonna have the minister back. We're gonna have
You
the
know,
minister back.
we-
We
we
actually
have-
can't just cut right and then go into it right
Yeah,
now
we-
because we
No,
have
That's not possible for today. We have a jam-packed May schedule,
yes.
so maybe in June
Maybe in June, definitely.
we
Then-
come back off of that exciting series. That
Yes, we have an exciting series. I'm not gonna preempt that, but you know how we celebrate in May. We have
Yeah.
some little changes that we're gonna do. We have some interesting people coming in. I actually spoke to one this morning, and
Lovely.
they was like, "Yeah, they would talk about it because you touched on some stuff. We're gonna go back to 1967
Yes.
and walk our way up." But ladies and gentlemen, we unpacked a lot of Easter eggs in this episode in me. Easter eggs in me. But it has been another interesting,
As always.
always informative episode of Progress Report. Lots to look out for. Airport, new terminal coming, cargo facility, the high school being finished, rollout of Senior Shield, Blowing Point basketball, Blowing Point basketball. There's so much going on.
Soccer field.
Soccer field
You're
coming.
just combining everything.
I
into
tried
one
everything
word.
out there. The new classroom back at the Vivian Vanderpool Primary School, the new resort, Anivilla Resort in Shulby. There's a lot happening.
But I also want to mention, I know Deanne isn't here, but some things that she'll want to talk about is the design for the new Lanchwood Bowl Cultural Center.
She coming on. She's on.
Please do not
do
preempt.
not jump her. She's on right after you.
And,
She's on right after you.
and the track and field.
And the track and field. I know there's movement there.
So,
Listen, it's been great. Anything from you, Gleniva?
no, take us alive.
All right, this has been another excellent episode of Progress Report. Thank you for listening.